A lot of agencies that employ people who teach people with vision loss how to cook really like that aspect too, because all of our videos are audio described.
Please welcome Debra Erickson.
Don't give up on yourself. All chefs, all cooks make mistakes and learn from those mistakes.
Founder of The Blind Kitchen.
You can visit the website at theblindkitchen.com, peruse the website independently. It's extremely screen reader and magnifier friendly.
And now, without further ado, please welcome Debra Erickson. Hope you enjoy.
Go to the recipe section. I write recipes. I'm a teacher and I'm a cook, and that's how I write the recipes.
Welcome to Blind Abilities. I'm Jeff Thompson. Today in the studio, we have someone I've been following for a little bit on Facebook, more than a little bit, quite a bit since she started this company. It's called The Blind Kitchen, and herself is visually impaired as well, loves cooking. She went to culinary school, was the only person there who was visually impaired. And here she is, Debra Erickson. Welcome to Blind Abilities.
Thank you for having me, Jeff. I really appreciate it.
You know, Debra, I saw your webinar. You got lots of stuff out there on Facebook. You won an award for some of your video work that you've been doing for accessibility, especially with the audio description part of it. It's just amazing, this big startup that you started, The Blind Kitchen. How's it going?
It's going well. In fact, I was teaching at the Oregon Commission for the Blind, and things got so busy here, I had to make a choice. And so this is my baby. We're about 1.5 years old, but it's really growing quickly now. It was quite slow at the beginning, but now all of a sudden it seems like it's growing faster than it was. So it's wonderful.
Welcome to The Blind Kitchen. Have you ever wondered what a good gift for a blind person would be? Well, if you don't have vision loss yourself, how could you possibly know? Kudos to you for reaching out and researching it, and you have come to the right place. I am going to describe the top 10 best-selling culinary tools in The Blind Kitchen. You can be sure that they are quality and useful because the people that have made them bestsellers are people who have vision loss themselves, or they are agencies and organizations who work with people with vision loss. My description will be very brief. But for more details on what the tool is, what it does, how to use and care for it, and exactly why it's blind friendly, visit our website, theblindkitchen.com.
What inspired you to get going on The Blind Kitchen?
You know, when I was getting my blind skills at the Oregon Commission for the Blind, I was taking meal prep class, and I knew I wanted to teach adults. The Blind Kitchen was nowhere in my future at all. Never thought of the thing. And so then I knew I wanted to teach adults. I've done that at different points in my adult life. I like that. So I was taking my meal prep class, and a light bulb went on my head, and I said, I could teach this. And then the light bulb went off because I thought, I don't know how to teach cooking. I'm very skills-based, and I regimented, and I really wanted to learn the art and the science and the history of it. So the commission allowed me to go to culinary school as part of my vocational rehabilitation. And when I got out of school, they immediately hired me at the Commission for the Blind to be a meal prep instructor. And that's where I thought I would be. And that was in June of 2019. And in March of 2020, COVID hit. So I was effectively paused because at that point, no one knew really much about COVID, but we were closed down. All state buildings were. And I don't know how to teach remotely. I still don't, and safely. I'm trying to figure out a way to do that, but that's another step in The Blind Kitchen. I was home for about 18 months. And so I thought, I'm just going to start gathering the information that I've learned, because I literally graduated on a Thursday and started on a Monday. It was a whirlwind from after culinary school. And I also had teamed up with another woman. I was buying some Braille labels from her over the mail. So we talked, and we decided to try and start a business together. And for reasons of her own, she wasn't able to go forward, unfortunately. So now I'm all by myself. She was the one that ran the website. She was the one that was going to do the videoing. Smart woman. So I took a small business administration class, and they were very helpful, not in terms of funding or anything like that, but in terms of hooking me up with resources and walking me through the steps of it. That's what they do for small businesses. And here we are. It's kind of amazing.
So you went to culinary school as someone who's visually impaired. I've heard you were the only one there. How did they accept that?
It was interesting. The chef instructors could not have been better. In fact, one of them, when he heard he was having a blind student, he didn't know man, woman, whatever. He actually we have a blind baker in the Portland area, and he set up an interview with her so he could ask her, how can I make things better for this mystery student? So they went way above and beyond to help me, but I was held to the same standards. And I was an older student in this class of about 40 and the only blind student. So some of them were as young as 16. One of the students was 16, finishing high school and college at the same time. And there were a couple of people my age, but I think there were only 3 of us that were. So it was a significant age difference. And I don't think they knew what to do with me. And I'm quite social, but if you can't make eye contact with someone, I didn't really feel comfortable interrupting conversations that they were having. And so I'd bring my lunch to school every day and I'd sit back in the locker room and eat because they'd all disappear. I don't know where they went. I didn't at the time. And then probably about 3 months into it. And I just, it was kind of upsetting. I took every opportunity to try and make a conversation if I get paired up with someone new. And it just wasn't working. I think people were kind of afraid of offending me. I mean, it's a thing. So one day, one of the girls in the class, I'm still friends with her, a young woman, and she came up to me and said, Deborah, do you want to come to lunch with us? And I said, Crystal, I would love that. And we sat down and there was a conversation. They were talking about video games. And I got this uniform and I got this weapon. And I was like, what are you guys talking about? And they're like, oh, it's this video game called Dota or something like that. And I'm like, does anybody here play Monopoly? And so it broke the ice. We talked board games the entire lunch. And then I really felt that I was part of the group because they figured out I had a sense of humor and I could cook. They knew that, but it melted the ice. So it was a slow burn, but eventually I did make some long-lasting friendships there. And I'm still very much in touch with 2 of the chef instructors.
Oh, that's really neat. So after you got your schooling and stuff, you started the Blind Kitchen. So it's really great. I mean, not great in the matter that you have vision loss, but you have experiences with it. What are some of the biggest hurdles that you see that visually impaired people have in the kitchen, and how are your products at the Blind Kitchen helping them?
It's a good question because that's absolutely the mission, is to help people with vision loss. And the biggest hurdle is fear, and fear of cutting themselves, and fear of burning themselves, and also fear of embarrassment. If they spill something or something doesn't look right or they burn something. Like with any skill, it's going step by step. And so some of the products in the Blind Kitchen will protect you against burns. We have heat gloves. We've got grilling gloves that are very blind friendly in that they're not as thick as like heavy quilted pads, traditional ones. And they also have non-slip properties because they have silicone designs on them. So if I'm holding a pan or something out of the oven, it's going to be far less likely to slip out of my fingers than if I had those bulky oven mitts where you don't have much control over that. You've got to get it right. And in terms of cutting, I mean, it's having the right tools and strategy. So the Blind Kitchen is both culinary tools that are adaptive. I don't sell pots and pans as a rule unless it's especially adaptive. But about 90% of the tools are not meant for blind people, but they are of a certain design or have certain qualities that help make it easier for us. Like we have talking scales and a talking thermometer. That's to make sure that your meat is cooked to a temperature that's safe to consume. But as far as cutting goes, one of the things we sell is under $10. It's a glove that you wear on the hand holding the food, and you can't cut through it. I do demonstrations where I put my palm straight up. I'm wearing the glove on my left hand. I have the knife in my right hand, a sharp chef knife, and I go back and forth against the palm of my hand, and it doesn't cut it. I can feel the pressure, but it won't cut through. And so that way, let's say I'm cutting a carrot. I use work trays. I'll explain those in a minute. But let's say I'm cutting a carrot, and I'm slicing, and all of a sudden, I feel pressure on that gloved hand when I don't expect to feel it. I'm just going to stop.
Yeah.
If I hadn't been wearing the glove, by the time that information got to my brain, I would have already been cut. So a lot of the stuff is just preventative. I'm not going to sit there and cut on the glove just for the fun of it, but it provides that level of protection from me that gives me advanced warning before I would hurt myself. So those are the kind of tools that we have. And the way I found out about that tool is I did a cooking experience at a restaurant when I was at the commission, and all of the cooks had to wear those gloves. It wasn't because a blind woman was coming on. The insurance required it. So these are standard in a commercial kitchen. I can't believe I'd never heard of it. It was so cool. We used it at the commission. All the students were required to wear one when they were doing cutting or grating. Grating is especially, people have been known to lose their knuckle skin.
Yeah, when you get down to the end, you want to get that last part of the carrot.
That's right.
There's your knuckle. Yeah. What are some of the most popular adaptive tools, products that the Blind Kitchen offers, and what makes them unique?
Okay.
I mean, you've had some experience now.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose you know which one's the most popular.
We do. We actually have a video out that's called 10 Best Gifts for a Blind Person. We chose the 10 bestsellers because it's not because I think they're the best. Our sales prove that they're the best. These are what our customers like, and they refer other people to or come back and order from us again. One of our top sellers is our auto measure spout. And it's a spout that you put on top of a bottle of liquid, of which you want exactly 1 tablespoon of liquid. What it does, let's say I want a tablespoon of olive oil in my pan. So I take the bottle with the spout on it, turn it upside down, and I'll hear it dispensing. And then all of a sudden it'll stop, even if I'm still holding it upside down. I don't know how it works, but there's ball bearings in there. And so if I want another tablespoon, I have to turn the bottle upright again. It resets, and there's no batteries or power source in this. It's just some ingenious design. And then I turn it upside down again, and it'll dispense another tablespoon and then just stop. So that way, all I need is one hand to pour out a tablespoon of liquid. I don't have to check with my finger. Is it full? Is it not? There's no spillage. And also that frees up my other hand to see for me while that other hand is doing the pouring. So I know exactly where the bowl or the pan is. And I've always said, if we were going to have to lose our vision, we should have at least be given a third hand because I never have enough hands. And that's one of the principles, how I choose the tools in the Blind Kitchen, is if it can free up your hand. So we have another thing. It's called a bag holder, and that's what it is. It's about 4 inches base round, and it's got a bit of a non-skid surface, and then 2 arms come up from it in kind of a Y shape. And you take a resealable plastic bag, and you could use the quart size or the gallon size. The arms extend if you want longer one, or you can keep them short. And you slide so the bag is in front of you vertically, one end at your chest, one end across from it. And then you put the middle of where the seal lines are underneath the edges of one of those rabbit ears, and then underneath the edges. And so now that bag is being held open. And so now both of your hands are free to, if you're grating cheese and you need to get, a bench scraper, get that cheese. Now, again, you've got one hand to work for you and one hand to see for you instead of trying to hold it awkwardly open with the other hand. Again, not meant for blind or visually impaired, but an ingenious tool.
Well, that's neat. And I really like that you have videos on a variety of these products and stuff so people can go in and get further information about that.
In this episode, I'm going to give you a verbal tour of the Blind Kitchen Library.
Debra is wearing cookbook earrings. She is wearing a white chef's coat, a black apron with silver trim, and the Blind Kitchen written on leather.
Knowledge is power. The library is the heart of the Blind Kitchen.
That's nice.
Yeah, a lot of agencies that employ people who teach people with vision loss how to cook really like that aspect too, because all of our videos are audio described. Blind people don't like silent movies, so you're not going to get a lot of silence. And that's what, when you were talking about the Audio Description Project, recognized our work in that. They tell you what the tool is, what it does, why it's blind friendly, and how to use and care for it. So if their student says, I don't remember what this auto measure spout does, it came to them packaged in large print and braille. It says auto measure spout on the packaging. And so then they can go to the website and refresh their memory as to what that tool does or get the information they need.
Another thing I really like is I'm going to your website. There's the products. I can search and I can look for products and it's all there, because if I go to other websites, like we won't use any rainforest names for this website, but I might come up with 750 results, where on your product list, whether you have 80, 90 products on there, they're all the Blind Kitchen approved for this type of use. That's what I really like about your website.
Yeah, there's nothing, I appreciate that. And there is nothing on the website that is not blind friendly. Like I don't sell pots and pans because I want our brand to be, it's going to help somehow. It's somehow applicable to us. Not that pots and pans aren't helpful, but they aren't especially blind friendly. Except let me tell you about one of them. It's our newest item on the shelf, and it's called the locking lid pan.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pan that's made of copper, and it has a ceramic nonstick finish on the inside, so you can use metal utensils on it. Love this pan. It's got round handles for the handles, and we call it the Mickey Mouse pan at work. So the lid, actually, when it goes on, it locks. And I won't go into detail in the description, but it allows you to strain like potatoes or pasta. Lock that lid on after the pasta's done. You figured it out, it's al dente, it's what you like. You lock that lid on there, and then you take it to the sink and you can pour it. The food stays in the pan. The pan has special spouts on the outside of the lid and holes on the inside of the rib that allow that food to remain in while the water is poured out, and you're good to go. You haven't wasted any food. It only takes you a minute. It's a really good tool. So when I say don't sell pots and pans, you can see how that one is very blind friendly, because if you're making pasta or potatoes and you have a colander in your sink, those pans are heavy. They're full of water. Both of your hands are going to be busy holding that pan. So it's going to be an educated guess at best to exactly if they're going to go into the colander or not. And it takes the guesswork out of it because the lid's going to stay on the pan and allow the food to strain.
And I found that colanders can slip and tip and do lots of different things while you think you're doing another.
1,000%. 1,000%.
And I like how you talk about the landing area. I was watching a webinar and you're talking about when you have both hands carrying a boiling pot of water, when you go into the sink, prepare it in advance. So I like the educational parts that you bring to this area, because you might get to the sink and you're not ready over there, but your hands are taken up. You don't have that third hand
That's right,
you were talking about.
Right. Maybe I'll write a biography and I'll call it The Third Hand. Where's my third hand?
I think it's your brain.
It might be such as it is.
Work smarter, not harder.
True.
So your customers are buying products, they're coming back for more. What is one of the responses, feedback that you got back from a person that really made you think that your mission is on the right track?
I have gotten multiple emails from family of people with vision loss, and it's mostly people, not to be ageist or sexist, but at this point in time, it's mostly older women who have vision loss because of age-related eye diseases, and they were the cooks for their family. They did the Thanksgiving dinner, they did the Christmas, they did Hanukkah, they did birthdays, and now they were afraid of going back into the kitchen, because if you don't have the information or the tools, how could you possibly know how to keep yourself safe? The feedback I get is that you've given me part of my identity back. I love to cook, but I didn't think I'd ever be able to cook again. And I'm slower, but I can do it. And so that really warms my heart, because that was the whole idea, and to let them do something they love. And we all need to eat. Even if you don't love cooking, it's nice to be able to have those skills so that you can feed yourself independently if you need to. So many of the students that came to the Oregon Commission for the Blind went from freezer to microwave. I never had to teach a student how to use a microwave. They had that down pat, but it was the other parts of it that they were hesitant to do. And it's through some of these tools where I could walk them through it when the stove is cold. Let's start with the cold stove. Here, take this cake stand, which is a little cardboard circle. That's how big the burner on this stove is, so that they'd have tactile information. And then we'd remove the cardboard, of course. But now they're like, oh, okay, I've got a mental image of what this stovetop is like. It takes the fear out of things. If you know it, it takes the fear out of it. It's the unknown we're most afraid of. And I also want to say that that fear is well placed. If you are standing in front of a very hot burner, and your heart starts going, or a flame, on a gas stove, and if your heart doesn't start going, you're probably going to die young, because that's your body telling you you're in danger right now. And you are in danger at that moment. If you have a sharp knife in your hand, you've got to be aware that you are in danger. But just like anything, you can overcome it if you have the right information and the right tools. Then your brain takes a shift and says, okay, yep, I've got to be real careful here. I've got to proceed slowly. And so that fear is well placed. But the Blind Kitchen tries to help people to overcome that.
And that's exactly true. Like in woodworking, I teach woodworking. And if someone doesn't start white knuckling or shorten up their speech as the machine starts up, they should have the respect for the tools that they're using and understand them. And like you said, if you can overcome safety, you can start gaining experience, and experience is the best teacher.
Well said. Can I steal that from you?
Sure. It's yours. You heard it on Blind Abilities, right?
I'll be sure to quote you.
I'm listening to you talking. It's very similar stuff throughout all teaching and everything. So you can really tell that you've been a teacher. And I'm glad that you came into this realm of making products available to people. Now, has there been a product that isn't out there that you would like to be out there?
Yes, there definitely is.
And do you work with companies?
I reached dead ends. So people with glass top or ceramic top stoves, it's very daunting. There's no tactile information until you turn the stove on, and then you can't, there's still no tactile information. You're just going to get the heat. I actually got in touch with Corningware, and I got in touch with a wood burning oven maker where they make those ridiculously hot furnaces for pizzas to try and get some kind of an overlay that would withstand high temperatures. So silicone, like Silipats, they call them, or silicone sheet pan liners, they cannot take the heat off the top of the stove. They will catch on fire. They can go pretty hot in the oven and stuff like that, but you can't like cut a circle in one of them on the stove and then put your pan on it. That shows that you could feel with your fingers. They said it comes in sheets like fiberglass, that's how they insulate. And so just dead ends. It hasn't been developed yet as far as I know. We have a video on the website. If people have problems with centering a pan on a stove, how do you do it with vision loss? It's a long video, but it gives the technique.
Hello, and welcome to the Blind Kitchen, where everyone has a seat at the table. I'm your host, Debra Erickson, and in this episode, we're going to talk about how people with vision loss can be sure that their pan is centered on top of the hot stove, even a glass top stove.
So there is a safe way to do that confidently and safely, but you need to have the right information to do it. Basically, it's just touching the top of the rim of the pan. If it's equally hot all over when you're touching it, you're centered. If, let's say, at 2 o'clock, it gets a lot hotter than it is at like 7 o'clock, you know now that the pan is not over the heat source, but it's climbing up the side of the pan at 2 o'clock. So you're just going to gently nudge the pan towards the heat, towards 2 o'clock. And then you're just going to keep checking about every 2 inches around the top of the pan. Is it equally hot? Because you can touch the top of a hot pan for just a second with your fingertip and it'll cool immediately. No chance for burning. You can't touch hot oil or the burner or hot food because it'll continue to burn after it comes away. But with your fingertip, you can do that safely, easily. And at 2 o'clock, it's still warmer than the other parts. I'll push it a little bit more until it feels evenly hot, and then I'll know I'm good. And when I'm cooking at the stove, that's mostly what I'm doing, is touching the top of the pan.
What kind of innovations or expansions do you see coming up in the future for the Blind Kitchen?
Just this month, we made a huge move. We've been running this business out of our home, and my husband and I, and out of a storage unit, which is where we put the overflow stuff. But our home is getting incredibly complicated because we keep adding more things to it. So we need to have them available to us when we're wrapping packages and stuff. So we're leasing commercial space, which is so exciting. So we're in the middle of a big move right now, and that's a huge financial commitment. And it's going to change our lifestyle because we're going to have to go out of our house to do the business, which I can't wait to do, just for the record. That is in progress, and that was huge because we're about 1.5 years old that we've been running this out of our home. Then the next step is going to be to hire someone to do all of the packaging and the shipping, the stuff that doesn't use my best skills. And I'm so bad at it. Luckily, my husband enjoys it and he's good at it, but I can't wait to have that time freed up so that I can do more videos. One thing people have often asked me is sighted parents don't know how to teach their blind children how to cook. And how would they know? They've never been taught how to cook with vision loss. So I want to do a series on how to teach your child to cook with vision loss. It's not me teaching the child how to cook. It's going to be the parents watching the videos, learning the tools or the information or the strategy, and they'll be helping their student. It's not meant for a kid to watch and, go turn on their stovetop in their kitchen. I'm looking forward to doing the how to teach your children to cook lessons, but that's a little ways down the line. But definitely we do have a business plan.
So for those listeners out there who want to get back into the kitchen or want to, for the first time, get into the kitchen, what advice would you have for them to help encourage them to give it a shot?
I'd say be prepared mentally and physically. It is a room that could potentially harm your body, and be aware of it and go in anyway. Be prepared also to fail. You're not going to get it right, maybe not the first time, and certainly not every time. I'm trained, and I still get it wrong sometimes, without a doubt. But don't give up on yourself. All chefs, all cooks make mistakes and learn from those mistakes. But arm yourself with the information and the tools to the point where you can feel confident that you can go in and give it a try and keep yourself safe. That is to just do it. I probably borrowed that from Nike or something, but it's just do it.
Oh, yeah, just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Or Apple, it just works, right?
That could be it. That's right. That's right. You're not going to learn sitting on the couch watching cooking shows. That won't do it.
Couch potatoing has nothing to do with cooking.
Good point. I like it.
Other people who just need products and stuff can go to your website and check it out and all that. But there's probably some of them who was thinking, wow, culinary school. What advice would you have for someone who's interested in that?
I would tell them to go to Disabled Student Services or whatever, because they have a variety of resources that can help. We were having a hard time trying to figure out, the recipes were in a textbook. Of course, I can't read that, but they supplied them to me in MP3 files. So I could access that on my computer or on my phone. But computers, iPads, phones, they're not allowed in a commercial kitchen. They're near your face, they're near your ear, they're near your nose. It's unsanitary, and you can put them in a plastic bag, a baggie, but it kept losing its focus. It wasn't workable because of the touching of the film on it. Disabled Student Services, I'd never heard of it, came up with a Victor reader stream where I could, during my homework time, I needed to know what we'd be making next, and I could arrange the recipe in such a way, step by step, then drop the document onto the Victor reader stream and read it by pressing the pause and play button after I located the correct recipe. And I could put that in a thin Ziploc bag. So if my hands were wet or dirty, it didn't matter because it's going to get on the bag, not on the machine. And the machine wasn't going to contaminate anything.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, they had ideas for me that I wasn't able to get. Another thing I'd like to say about the Blind Kitchen is if you go to the recipe section, I write recipes. I'm a teacher and I'm a cook, and that's how I write the recipes. I go through the whole recipe first, say, okay, now what needs to be done first? For example, I'll say prepare the garnishes and the herbs before you start cutting up a protein, because then you have to clean all the stuff up and everything like that. So I do it in a step-by-step way. And on the way, I put a recipe tip. This is what's going to happen in the next step. Like, this is why, this is science of what's going to happen next. So make sure, you pay attention to that. And the other thing, at each step in the recipe, I put the tools that I used to be able to complete that step. Now, there are a lot of very competent blind cooks out there that don't need the specialized equipment. They figured it out. I'm in awe. I listen to Hadley's What's Cooking discussion group. I think it's on the fourth Wednesday of the month. Those people are good at what they do, and they're very good at being blind too. So I learn. I'm not the best person at being blind. I lost my vision later in life, and so I'm still learning, but I learn a lot from that. The other thing is to listen to podcasts like yours. And classes like at Hadley, you'll find that there are a lot of people, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's a lot of people that are very good at cooking blind. And sometimes it's a tool, but a lot of times it's just a strategy and information.
Mm-hmm. And I like what you said there. Reminds me of something someone told me, ask questions. So if someone wants to ask questions, they could probably send you an email.
Absolutely. Send me an email at info@theblindkitchen.com. I also take phone calls as I'm able. You can call me at 503-313-2345, or you can visit the website at theblindkitchen.com and just peruse the website independently. It's extremely screen reader and magnifier friendly. There's no pop-up ads. You're not going to be redirected all over the place. It's a very clean and easy to navigate website. I'm so proud of my website designer, who is the one that keeps it that way.
Oh, that's great. Debra Erickson, it's great having you on here. I love what you're doing with the Blind Kitchen. It's a great resource. I don't have to go anyplace else anymore. So that's where I'm going to be going. And I'm waiting for that brownie grid pan so I can get brownies that seem like they're all from the corners. I love that.
I thought that was already on the shelves. It is so.
It'll be there by the time
cool
people get this podcast, right?
I definitely. It might be online before we hang up here.
There you go. I'm looking for it. It's innovative products like that gets my attention. And while I was looking for it on the line, I saw so many other things like the basket for grilling.
Mm-hmm.
That's remarkable. You can flip anything from a handle at a safe distance away from the heat.
4 burgers at one time.
4?
In that basket. Or 4, well, it depends on how big they are. But yeah, it'll hold. It's pretty big. I think it's like 12 by 12. It's a square.
Oh, so you put the raw hamburger in there, pattied out, and set it in there, cook it for X amount of times, 6-7 minutes, and flip it over and do it some more, and they're all done at the same time.
It's not going to fall through. You put them all on at the same time. You take them all off at the same time.
And that's just one of 90 products. We'd be here all day talking about all of them, but go check out theblindkitchen.com and discover stuff for yourself. It's all there. Well, thank you, Debra.
Oh, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Chef Debra hasn't let it hold her back from still dishing it out. The most important thing to her is that you don't give up just because it's difficult.
There's always a way to be able to follow your dreams and do things that you enjoy and love. You've just got to figure out how. And the Blind Kitchen was how I figured out mine. Oh, I've got such a rough job.
From where the magic happens, in Oregon City.
Whoever baked that pie is a really good cook, just saying.
John Goodwin, KGW News.
Such a great time talking to Debra Erickson. Be sure to check out the website, theblindkitchen.com. A lot of resources, a lot of information there, and a lot of products to help you with your culinary journey. So check out the show notes and click on the links. And I want to thank you for listening. And until next time, bye-bye.
When we share
what we see through
each other's eyes, we can then begin to bridge the gap
between the limited expectations and the realities of blind abilities.
And the realities of blind abilities.
For more podcasts with the blindness perspective, check us out on the web at www.blindabilities.com and subscribe to the Blind Abilities Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. That's 2 words, Blind Abilities. Email info@blindabilities.com. Reach us at 612-367-6093. Give us some feedback, some suggestions. We'd love to hear from you. And from all of us here at Blind Abilities, thank you for listening. And until next time, bye-bye.